Hello everyone, this is Steve. As you can see here, this is my Facebook page. This is me right here, and this is my granddaughter Ava sitting there in my lap. So as you can tell, I'm not a spring chicken. Actually, I'm 69 years old and I'm a retired nurse, but I'm living on Social Security, and for the past 6 months or so, I've been researching on the internet on ways to make some extra money to supplement my Social Security, because you see, I never worked for one company long enough, like 20 or 30 years, to have a good pension coming in to supplement my income. And now I find myself with, up against this situation that it's real hard to live on just Social Security, especially when you're used to making, a lot more than that as a nurse. So I'm making this tutorial today to kind of give you some reasons why I myself personally have tried to get into an extra way to make money, or by working from home, because it's much easier. You don't have to spend a lot of money on gas and transportation back and forth and working for somebody else. And here's one of my posts. I got tired of doing the 8 to 5 grind. Build your own dreams, or someone else will hire you to build theirs. And finally, it took me a while. I know I'm not a quick learner, but it took me most of my life to realize this. As long as you're working for someone else, you're just going to make an existence. You're just going to make enough money to pay your bills. You're not going to make a lot of money that you can save up. You're not going to get ahead in life. And nowadays, with the cost of inflation and the way the economy is even getting worse every day. So I just want to give you some reasons why I'm doing this, and also why I like the Power Lead system. It's one of the easiest ways to get started in an online business, just working out of your home. This is my back office right here. This comes complete with setting up a domain. You can even set up your own website. I don't even use a website per se. I use Power Lead system as my website, and you have unlimited subdomains. Once you set up one subdomain, I think it cost me $17.97 to get that set up. And you just go through when you first sign up. All of this will be read until you complete it, and it's real easy to follow. See this easy button right here? This is where you start. It says start right here, and then each one of these has a little short 10 or 12 minute video to explain and show you how to do each and everything. But I also want to check with you, give you some tips on how to get started and how to present your sales presentation, or whatever it is, whatever product that you're trying to sell to somebody. This man right here is already produced this, and I found it. I ran across it, searching in YouTube on some real good tips, and I'm going to go over that here shortly. So, like I said, I'm a father, a husband, a retired nurse, and now I've just recently gotten into this online marketing because I'm not giving up yet. I'm not that old. I'm old enough, but if I can do it, anybody else can do it. And you can see I've already gone pretty much bald in my old age, and I'm not proud of my looks. I'm not some beautiful young girl that's going to get your attention, but what I am is sincere, and I want to help others that are in the same situation, or like stay-at-home moms that have 2 or maybe 3 or 4 kids, and they can't afford to go and get a job because daycare costs would just take everything right back from them. So I'm just going to go through this ad lib. I'm just telling you, I have no script here. I'm just telling you why I like Power Lead system, and why it's a fast and easy way if you're not tech savvy, if you don't know anything about making a website online, if you don't know anything about any of this stuff, which I didn't. I mean, about all I had was this Facebook page, and I've made this background wallpaper for my Facebook to kind of give you an idea of it's sort of Steve's Freedom formula. This is my formula, and mine is based upon a shoestring budget, and you can follow me on YouTube because that is one of my principal plans for getting free traffic to my site. So like I've said before in some of my previous YouTubes, Google is the #1 search engine, and and they actually own YouTube. So if you can start producing some YouTube videos and just this is who I am, what you see is what you get. I'm not trying to I'm not the greatest guru and salesperson in the world, but I'm learning, and you have to start somewhere. Look at here, I mean, right down here I've got, even the expert was once just a beginner. So there you go. You got to start somewhere. So I'm getting off track slightly. I'm ad-libbing this. This is just my thoughts. So what I want to do is come over here. I'm going to give a shout out to this guy. His name is Dr. Robert Cialdini, and he has a PhD in social psychology, and he's got some tips on the science of persuasion. And I just want to do this one little section on this little video that he's produced
to guide our decision making. My own research has identified just 6 of these shortcuts as universals that guide human behavior. They are reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and consensus. Understanding these shortcuts and employing them in an ethical manner can significantly increase the chances that someone will be persuaded by your request. Let's take a closer look at each in turn.
So, the first universal principle of influence is reciprocity. Simply put, people are obliged to give back to others the form of behavior, gift, or service that they have received first. If a friend invites you to their party, there's an obligation for you to invite them to a future party you are hosting. If a colleague does you a favor, then you owe that colleague a favor. And in the context of a social obligation, people are more likely to say yes to those that they owe. One of the best demonstrations of the principle of reciprocation comes from a series of studies conducted in restaurants. So the last time you visit a restaurant, there's a good chance that the waiter or waitress will have given you a gift, probably at about the same time that they bring you a bill. A liqueur perhaps, or a fortune cookie, or perhaps a simple mint. So here's the question: does the giving of a mint have any influence over how much tip you're going to leave them? Most people will say no, but that mint can make a surprising difference. In the study, giving diners a single mint at the end of their meal typically increased tips by around 3%. Interestingly, if the gift is doubled and 2 mints are provided, tips don't double. They quadruple, a 14% increase in tips. But perhaps most interestingly of all is the fact that if the waiter provides 1 mint, starts to walk away from the table, but pauses, turns back, and says, "For you nice people, here's an extra mint," tips go through the roof. A 23% increase, influenced not by what was given, but how it was given. So the key to using the principle of reciprocation is to be the first to give and to ensure that what you give is personalized and unexpected.
The second universal principle of persuasion is scarcity. Simply put, people want more of those things they can have less of. When British Airways announced in 2003 that they would no longer be operating the twice-daily London-New York Concorde flight because it had become uneconomical to run, sales the very next day took off. Notice that nothing had changed about the Concorde itself. It certainly didn't fly any faster, the service didn't suddenly get better, and the airfare didn't drop. It had simply become a scarce resource, and as a result, people wanted it more. So when it comes to effectively persuading others using the scarcity principle, the science is clear. It's not enough simply to tell people about the benefits they'll gain if they choose your products and services. You'll also need to point out what is unique about your proposition and what they stand to lose if they fail to consider your proposal.
Our third principle of influence is the principle of authority, the idea that people follow the lead of credible, knowledgeable experts. Physiotherapists, for example, are able to persuade more of their patients to comply with recommended exercise programs if they display their medical diplomas on the walls of their consulting rooms. People are more likely to give change for a parking meter to a complete stranger if that requester wears a uniform rather than casual clothes. What the science is telling us is that it's important to signal to others what makes you a credible, knowledgeable authority before you make your influence attempt. Of course, this can present problems. You can hardly go around telling potential customers how brilliant you are, but you can certainly arrange for someone to do it for you. And surprisingly, the science tells us that it doesn't seem to matter if the person who introduces you is not only connected to you, but also likely to prosper from the introduction themselves. One group of real estate agents were able to increase both the number of property appraisals and the number of subsequent contracts that they wrote by arranging for reception staff who answered customer inquiries to first mention their colleagues' credentials and expertise. So, customers interested in letting a property were told, "Lettings? Let me connect you with Sandra, who has over 15 years' experience letting properties in this area." Customers who wanted more information about selling properties were told, "Speak to Peter, our head of sales. He has over 20 years' experience selling properties. I'll put you through now." The impact of this expert introduction led to a 20% rise in the number of appointments and a 15% increase in the number of signed contracts. Not bad for a small change informed from persuasion science that was both ethical and costless to implement.
The next principle is consistency. People like to be consistent with the things they have previously said or done. Consistency is activated by looking for and asking for small initial commitments that can be made. In one famous set of studies, researchers found, rather unsurprisingly, that very few people would be willing to erect an unsightly wooden board on their front lawn to support a Drive Safely campaign in their neighborhood. However, in a similar neighborhood close by, 4 times as many homeowners indicated that they would be willing to erect this unsightly billboard. Why? Because 10 days previously, they had agreed to place a small postcard in the front window of their home that signaled their support for a Drive Safely campaign. That small card was the initial commitment that led to a 400% increase in a much bigger but still consistent change. So, when seeking to influence using the consistency principle, the detective of influence looks for voluntary, active, and public commitments, and ideally gets those commitments in writing. For example, one recent study reduced missed appointments at health centers by 18%, simply by asking the patients rather than the staff to write down appointment details on the future appointment card.
The fifth principle is the principle of liking. People prefer to say yes to those that they like. But what causes one person to like another? Persuasion science tells us that there are three important factors. We like people who are similar to us, we like people who pay us compliments, and we like people who cooperate with us towards mutual goals. As more and more of the interactions that we are having take place online, it might be worth asking whether these factors can be employed effectively in, let's say, online negotiations. In a series of negotiation studies carried out between MBA students at two well-known business schools, some groups were told, time is money, get straight down to business. In this group, around 55% were able to come to an agreement. A second group, however, were told, before you begin negotiating, exchange some personal information with each other. Identify a similarity you share in common, then begin negotiating. In this group, 90% of them were able to come to successful and agreeable outcomes that were typically worth 18% more to both parties. So to harness this powerful principle of liking, be sure to look for areas of similarity that you share with others and genuine compliments you could give before you get down to business.
The final principle is consensus. Especially when they are uncertain, people will look to the actions and behaviors of others to determine their own. You may have noticed that hotels often place a small card in bathrooms that attempt to persuade guests to reuse their towels and linen. Most do this by drawing a guest's attention to the benefits that reuse can have on environmental protection. It turns out that this is a pretty effective strategy, leading to around 35% compliance. But could there be an even more effective way? Well, it turns out that about 75% of people who check into a hotel for 4 nights or longer will reuse their towels at some point during their stay. So what would happen if we took a lesson from the principle of consensus and simply included that information on the cards and said that 75% of our guests reuse their towels at some time during their stay, so please do so as well. It turns out that when we do this, towel reuse rises by 26%. Now imagine the next time you stay in a hotel, you saw one of these signs. You picked it up and you read the following message. 75% of people who have stayed in this room have reused their towel. What would you think? Well, here's what you might think. I hope they're not the same towels. And like most people, you probably think that this sign will have no influence on your behavior whatsoever. But it turns out that changing just a few words on a sign to honestly point out what comparable previous guests have done was the single most effective message, leading to a 33% increase in reuse. So, the science is telling us that rather than relying on our own ability to persuade others, we can point to what many others are already doing, especially many similar others.
So there we have it, 6 scientifically validated principles of persuasion that provide for small, practical, often costless changes that can lead to big differences in your ability to influence and persuade others in an entirely ethical way.
All right, guys, how do you like that? I thought that was a very interesting little YouTube there with lots of good information. And I am going to take advantage of it because it's some real good advice, and I'm going to start trying to do that with my power lead system right here. Like I said before, and see, I haven't even gotten to this point yet. It's still red. So when you get to all these different levels, you can start out for as $7 and start making $6 commissions, and we have a free 7-day trial to even start out. So I am trying to start a home business on a shoestring budget. Now, I mean, absolute minimum, because I don't even have a camera yet for these YouTubes. But since I'm doing tutorials and sort of over-the-shoulder type of explanatory YouTubes, I don't actually need that camera yet. I will in the future, but for right now, I'm just getting by with what I absolutely have to have, and I'm living on my budget until I can get more prospects and leads into my list building system, which is this system right here. It has a built-in autoresponder. It has built-in contacts manager. You can add your contacts manually, or or if as anybody comes to your landing page or your site and fills in their name and email, well, it automatically puts it in there for you, and it keeps up. This system keeps up with how many people have signed up. It keeps up with your commissions, anyone that's signed up under you, and the whole thing. So that's why, for less than $2 a day. That's why I haven't gone out and signed up for all these fancy smancy programs like ClickFunnels. And don't get me wrong, now I'm not knocking ClickFunnels. It's a very good program, but it's about $197 a month to really get into it and start using it. I don't need that yet. Only would you really want to get into those things as you need it. You don't buy something you don't need 10 years in advance. So, what can I say? So this is the way that I have chosen to get started. And this system can be used to add more and more other digital products or businesses that you want to get in. You can even promote your own business. See here? Promote your own business, and you can promote it from traffic generation online or generation offline. Email swipe copies, display social media sites, hangouts and live trainings, your own power blog. It's got all this built into the system for less than $2 a day. Well, a decent autoresponder, eventually, they all will give you a free trial to get started, and then after that you start paying. And right now, before I got into Power Lead System and found out about it, I had Get Response, which is a very good and has plenty of 24-hour support. It has chat line, it has a phone number you can call and get help. But so until you get up to 1,000 people in your list, it's only $17 per month. But once you get over, it has that limit. So once you get over 1,000, then you have to start paying $49.97 or something, about $50 a month, and that's not too bad. But if you've got an autoresponder, and then you want some way to track your leads and so forth with ClickFunnels, and then you've got to have all these other things that you start adding to. You want to try to start out doing it with the minimum of expense, because the main problem anyone has making money is you have to sell something first, and that means you have to have traffic coming to your store, whether it be a physical store or an internet store per se. Your website or your domain is your store. It's your storefront, and your landing page becomes your the front window display of your store. So that's what you've got to have traffic. You've got to have people coming through to see what you've got to promote. So this is why I like Power Lead System. I'm sold on it. I'm into it. As soon as I can, I'm going to upgrade. Right now I'm at the diamond level, which means that if someone signs up under me and says, okay, I'm all in, I want to be diamond level 2, then I get $100 commission. And if they just come in and just decide to become an affiliate, which is the goal here, it only costs them $53.97 per month. You get all of this system, this whole system, with the autoresponder complete, done for you, templates that are written by Neil Guess and his staff that are professional copywriters for sales pages, and all you have to do is plug them in and you're good to go. You can hit the ground running, as I call it. So this is why I love Power Lead System, and this is why I'm promoting it. And then when I start growing, once I start getting some of my advertisement and efforts back, I start putting it into paid traffic. Paid traffic is so much faster than using free traffic. And paid traffic can target people who are seriously looking for a way to make money online or to work at home. So you want to budget that. I mean, that's just part of doing business. Everybody, it's kind of like it's only logical, right? It's only logical that you've got to advertise some way or somehow in order for people to see what you've got that you have to offer. And I feel your pain about needing extra money. Everybody needs some extra money, right? Right. I need it because I don't have the money I used to have before I retired coming in. I took like a 4x decrease in my income. So I found a way now. I've got a plan, and once you get this system going and you start getting some return on your money, well, then you can start growing this into other sources of income. The pros have 5 or 8 or 10 or even 15 different sources of income, and you never want to rely on strictly one unless you're starting out like I am. You've got to start somewhere, and you want to try to master one thing instead of just jumping around. You can't focus and you get distracted. So I'm focusing on using this system to get started, and then I have a plan to increase my income sources as I grow, and eventually I can get up to 5 or 6, maybe even 10 different sources of income. And I'm building my list of leads also. So this is Steve signing out. I hope y'all have a great day, and God bless.